Graves on Gridiron with Richard Graves.
5 weeks are already in the books in the NFL. Only one team remains undefeated. That team is the Philadelphia Eagles with a perfect 5-0 record. A record which is under threat and on the line against a feared NFC East rival this weekend as the Dallas Cowboys roll into town. And then there's a mouth-watering clash in the AFC as the number one ranked scoring offense in the NFL takes on the number one ranked defense. Hello, welcome to the show. This is Graves on Gridiron. I am your host, Richard Graves, turning the page onto Week 6 in the NFL.
Graves on Gridiron with Richard Graves.
Hello, welcome along to the show. Over the last 3 weeks, we have improved dramatically. 5-4 is the record against the line over the last 3 weeks after a really sluggish start through the opening 2 weeks of the season when we went just 1-6. But we're redressing the balance. We're closing in on a 500 record ourselves and looking to improve that still further in Week 6 of the NFL season. And we will start by looking at 3 games, none better, arguably, than the Sunday Night Football clash because we're looking at the only undefeated team in the NFL. It'll be a feverish crowd inside the Lincoln Financial Field to welcome the Dallas Cowboys, who arrived there riding a 4-game winning streak. But the Eagles haven't lost a game this season. 5-0. They are perfect. It is a mouth-watering clash in the NFC East. Eagles undefeated, arguably the most complete team in football right now, against the Cowboys, who are riding that 4-game winning streak, a streak which is made more impressive, not only by the fact, as we all know, they've been missing their starting quarterback, Dak Prescott, through those 4 games, but for the whole season, they've been missing starting left tackle Tyron Smith as well. The Eagles head into the matchup with a number 2 ranked offense in the league, complemented by the number 4 ranked defense. They run the ball at will. They're averaging 160 yards per game on the ground, and they have a dual threat at wide receiver in A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. You have to say, though, that through the first 5 games, they haven't faced a pass rush like that possessed by the Cowboys yet this season. Already, Dallas have 20 sacks as a team through 5 games. That's second only to the San Francisco 49ers, who have 21. No team has scored more than 19 points against them in a game so far. Add on to that no team has scored more than a single touchdown against this unit in the NFL this season. And you consider they faced Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals, and then last week, the Super Bowl champion LA Rams. That is impressive. And we haven't even spoken yet about star second-year linebacker Micah Parsons, this week named the NFC's Defensive Player of the Week. He leads the NFL in sacks this season. He's tied for the lead with 6 sacks. He leads the league in quarterback hurries. He has 24. He's already had 3 multiple sack games through the first 5 weeks. And the attention that brings to him means that he's effectively now making every other player on this defensive front better. DeMarcus Lawrence, Dorrance Armstrong, Chauncey Golston, all these players are suddenly popping up and making big plays at crucial points in the game. You've got to temper all that excitement about their defense, though, by flipping it on its head and say, offensively, the Dallas Cowboys have been largely anemic with Cooper Rush under center. They had little more than 100 yards passing in a game against the Rams last weekend. He certainly hasn't lit up the opposition, but then quite frankly, due to the play of the Cowboys defense, he hasn't had to. What he has done is not turn the ball over. He's looked after the ball. That's the job he's been asked to do, and he's done it very successfully. Not a single interception, not a single fumble lost so far this season. So if Dallas are to cause an upset in this game, Cooper Rush is going to have to play better still. He is going to have to make some plays. But I've got to tell you, on home turf, defending that unbeaten record, it's frankly hard to go against the Eagles in this game. That said, 6.5 points on the line is a lot. Remember, this is a Cowboys defense which ranks 3rd in scoring this season. They've only given up 10 points in each of the last 2 games. I think that the Eagles probably will prevail in this one, but I don't see it by being more than 1 score. Therefore, that line is too hard to resist. Take the Dallas Cowboys to cover it at plus 6.5. Game 2 in this week's slate takes us to an all-star clash in the AFC as the Buffalo Bills, with a 4-1 record, travel to Arrowhead Stadium to take on the Kansas City Chiefs, also with a 4-1 record. This has star power all over the field, and when these two teams meet, fireworks happen. Buffalo, right now, arguably the best team in the AFC, but only a fool would overlook a team that's got Patrick Mahomes at quarterback. And what we said about Lincoln Financial Field for the Eagles-Cowboys clash, all that applies to this one. Arrowhead Stadium is going to be loud. The atmosphere is going to be electric, fueled in part by the stirring comeback win over the Las Vegas Raiders on Monday Night Football, really epitomized by the roughing the passer call that went against the Chiefs, and that ignited this crowd, transformed the stadium, the atmosphere. Expect that to roll over into this game. And remember, when these two teams last met in the playoffs at the end of last season, at the end of the game, neither defense could make a stop. The offenses were rolling up and down the field, and it was only by virtue of the overtime rules. Effectively, the last team to possess the ball wins the game, because Mahomes and the Chiefs got the ball first in overtime, rolled straight down the field, scored a walk-off touchdown, game over. Make no mistake, that still sticks in the throat of Josh Allen, Sean McDermott and co. over in Buffalo. The Bills come into this game with a number 1 ranked offense in football. They have the number 2 ranked scoring offense at 30.4 points per game. The only team that's been more potent so far, yeah, you've got it, it's those Kansas City Chiefs, averaging 31.8 points per game. However, I have to say, what was noticeable in that matchup between the Chiefs and Raiders on Monday Night Football, and it won't have been lost on Buffalo either, is the ability of wide receiver Devontae Adams, the chief threat for the Raiders, to go deep, be in double coverage, and still take the top off that Chiefs secondary. Now, that's exactly what the Bills did to the Steelers' defense last weekend. Third play of the game, backed up on their own 2-yard line. Josh Allen looks deep. Next thing you know, in the bat of an eyelid, Gabe Davis has hauled in the pass for a 98-yard touchdown reception. And then he backed it up later in the game with a 62-yard touchdown reception from Josh Allen as well. This combination was a defense killer for the Chiefs in the playoffs last season. They hooked up on 4 separate occasions in that game to score touchdowns. Now, I'm looking forward to this matchup. I'm not going to be bold enough to call which team comes out on top, although you have to say at this point, I would lean ever so slightly towards the Buffalo Bills. But I've got to tell you, I've got no hesitation in taking the Buffalo Bills to put at least 28 points on the board in this game. That's the line that's been set by the odds makers. The Bills for total points to score 27.5 points or more. Snap your hand off. The Bills are scoring 28 points in this game. Make no mistake about it. They've done so in 3 of their 5 games so far this season. They will do it against the Chiefs at Arrowhead on Sunday. Take the Bills to score over 27.5 points.
Graves on Gridiron.
And our final game selected from this week's slate looks at the resurgent New York Jets. Who would have thought it of this season? A 3-2 record going into Lambeau Field to take on a Green Bay Packers side who have an exactly the same 3-2 record. Look, the Jets go in here riding high, a wave of optimism around them. They're riding a 2-game win streak, and you contrast that with the Green Bay Packers, who are returning home after a hugely disappointing defeat in London to the New York Giants. Surely they couldn't lose to both New York football teams in back-to-back weeks, could they? Well, the Packers' problem this season has been putting points on the board. Who would have thought we'd ever say that about an Aaron Rodgers-led offense? Only twice so far have they managed to total 27 points in a game. Flip that on its head. Look at what the Jets have done defensively. They've only given up in excess of 24 points in a game once this season. Look, folks, Green Bay have to find a way of putting 2 halves of football together in the same game if they're going to actually be successful this year. And the frustration for Aaron Rodgers was clear for all to see last weekend, both on the field and then in his post-game media comments as well. Jair Alexander referenced even the possibility of a defeat. And Aaron Rodgers slapped it down and said, I don't want any talk of that in our locker room. We'll be addressing that because successful teams don't win with that attitude. You contrast that right now with the feeling around the New York Jets. Wins over the Miami Dolphins, an AFC East rival. Win over the Pittsburgh Steelers. Look, these are the results that are a catalyst for that optimism right now. And they may have just found themselves a potential star running back as well in rookie Breece Hall. He totaled 197 yards from scrimmage and scored a touchdown against the Dolphins last weekend. And this could be where Sunday's game is won and lost, frankly. Green Bay's defense had no answer for Saquon Barkley of the New York Giants last weekend. Barkley took over the game in the fourth quarter, and in no small part was the reason they came from behind to win that game against the Packers. Green Bay have struggled to defend against the run all season long. They're giving up 126.4 yards per game. That puts them in the bottom half defending the run in the entire National Football League through 5 weeks this season. All that said, it's the Jets. It's tough to see them coming out on top on a road trip to Lambeau Field. But make no mistake, they are improved under second-year head coach Robert Saleh now. Their defense is ranked in the top 10 through 5 games, and it's not so difficult to see them frustrating Aaron Rodgers and co. once more. So whilst I would still suggest that the Green Bay Packers will come out on top ultimately when it's all said and done, will Green Bay score 28 points this game? I'm not so sure they will. The line for the Green Bay Packers on total points is set at 27.5. Take under 27.5 total Green Bay Packers points in this game. So those are the 3 games picked from the Week 6 slate of games here on Graves on Gridiron. Remember, if you want to read a little bit more detail about the 3 games that we've spoken about on this week's podcast, you can go and read about them on my blog. Go to the website, rdgmedia.uk, click on the Talking Sport tab, and you will see Week 6, Overcoming the Odds, all 3 games broken down in detail there. Or you can hit me up on Twitter, @RichardGraves1. But just to recap, firstly and foremostly, this is always about having some fun, added enjoyment to go along with these Week 6 games. But these are the 3 we've taken from this weekend's slate. First of all, when the Cowboys travel to the Philadelphia Eagles, take the Cowboys to cover the spread at plus 6.5 points. Then onto Arrowhead Stadium, mouth-watering clash between the Kansas City Chiefs and Buffalo Bills. The Bills' offense is electric. Take the Bills to score over 27.5 points in that encounter. And then finally, at historic Lambeau Field, where the Green Bay Packers take on the New York Jets. The Packers desperate to find some form. They've struggled offensively this season, and I don't see them scoring at least 27.5 points to cover the spread in this game. So take the under on that one. The Green Bay Packers under 27.5 points. Once again, folks, remember, it's all about having fun and adding enjoyment with this weekend's slate of games in the NFL. It's been a blast as always. I look forward to discussing more trials and tribulations, drama, tension, excitement and upsets from the NFL when you join us next week on Graves on Gridiron.
Subscribe to Graves on Gridiron wherever you listen to podcasts, and keep up to date with the latest on Twitter. Search for Richard Graves 1. That's Richard Graves, the number 1.